All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to be discussing, kind of what makes, why Tesla, creates such fanfare, why people get so energized talking about Tesla, why I myself created this channel. One, it's to help educate people, right? There's a lot of, fear, uncertainty, and doubt that's, constantly being pushed by the media. And I think that it's people like myself who, really enjoy the products, really are kind of intrigued by the mission. I think we're the ones that Tesla is depending on to kind of take the company name and, shine it under a good light. They don't have a PR team, so there's no one at the company who, other than Elon himself, who really serves as a voice to kind of combat some of this, negative news that comes out of the media. So I'm going to be discussing in this video, why Tesla investors are crazy about the company, why enthusiasts love the cars and always want to give people, random strangers, rides. It's so crazy. But before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel, tap the notification bell. That way you can be notified of all the latest content as soon as it drops. All right, so let's get into it. First, I think it's important to answer the question is, what is Tesla's greatest existential challenge, right? So the first question I think that needs to be answered here is, what is Tesla's greatest existential challenge, right? To me, I believe it's solving full self-driving. And why is this? Well, if they don't solve full self-driving, they'll be just another car manufacturer, just another electric vehicle manufacturer, which is okay. They'll solve cars, but they won't become they won't become the powerhouse that the enthusiasts like myself believe that they will if they do end up solving it. Because if they do end up solving it, they've now brought themselves into a completely different stratosphere in terms of profitability as a company. Because if you consider that without this technology, the car is worth $40,000, right? What then is the value of that vehicle when equipped with this full self-driving technology? I mean, you'd have to think that it at least doubles the value, minimum doubles the value, right? Because you now essentially have a personal chauffeur right at your fingertips, whenever you'd like, right? And so I think if that's the case, then, another car that costs $40,000 to produce it, that doesn't have this technology, why would you buy another car that lacks the technology? That's essentially the same as buying a flip phone when you can buy a phone that has, internet, YouTube, GPS, everything, right? It has all the stuff. Why would you buy that other thing? Even if it does cost less, why wouldn't you buy the thing that has the safer features, the personal chauffeur, the ability to, if you're not using it, you can send it out and it can go make some money for you, right? It can go drive around, give people rides, pick up groceries, things like that. What would be drop your kids off at soccer practice? What would be the purpose of buying a car that you have to manually take around and now requires you to also denote time to doing those things? Okay, that's just my thought on it. That's the reason the greatest existential challenge for Tesla is solving that full self-driving, because that's what essentially everyone is banking on, is the fact that Tesla's going to be the first to solve it. And if they are the first to solve it and it's the safest, it's the best, it's what's accepted in, throughout the industry, then, obviously that just takes them, like the value of the company is absolutely through the roof, right? Okay. In terms of manufacturing, what is Tesla's strength? This is another important question. In terms of manufacturing, I think that their greatest strength is their vertical integration. Most other companies aren't as vertically integrated as Tesla is, right? And this is important because in times like we've seen over the last couple of years, where you have COVID, you have supply chain issues, you have the list goes on, whatever you can name. There's been issues, lockdowns, whatever it is, why people are, unable to get things done. And a lot of it has to do with things outside of their control. Well, now if you're vertically integrated, right? Everything is in-house. You don't have to go out of your network to get supplies or, any of that kind of stuff. The vertical integration is the holy grail of manufacturing. Like if you're 100% vertically integrated down to the minerals, you're mining the minerals that are going to either build your batteries or, build the frame for the vehicle itself, right? Like the structure of the body of the vehicle itself. If you can produce all of those things yourself and you don't have to go to, a battery manufacturer, you don't have to go to a steel manufacturer, right? Everything's in-house. You're set. You're not worried about a global supply chain issue because it doesn't affect you, because everything you do is here in your own house. It's like if you, for example, let's say, you own your house, right? You live in your house and outside you have a garden, right? And you have a farm. If you have everything on site, what would you need to go off site for? Nothing, right? And so now if you're able to produce all these things, then you can become even more profitable. And again, as an investor, this is a green light for us. We're thinking vertically integrate as much as possible, bro. Don't get yourself, put in these positions where you having to, be affected by something that's outside of your control. Like try to eliminate any external threats, right, to your ability to produce. Okay, now if we talk about what's their greatest strength, what is their limiting factor? Obviously, the biggest thing, the most expensive single cost of the entire vehicle, of the electric vehicle, which is the battery. That's the limiting factor. There's not enough batteries. Okay. Now, if we talk about what's their greatest strength, what is their limiting factor? Obviously, the biggest thing, the most expensive single cost of the entire vehicle, of the electric vehicle, which is the battery. That's the limiting factor. There's not enough batteries. Okay, well, what is Tesla doing? Tesla's getting into producing their own batteries, the 4680 cells that they've been talking about for the last 18 to 24 months, right? So this is important because although it's not, solved today, right? They're having a few issues getting everything ramped up, right? This is okay. This is a brand new technology. You're implementing it for the first time. There's going to be, bumps in the road. Same thing we saw back with the Model 3 ramp back in 2017, 2018 is, production hell, Elon called it. We're seeing something similar. But if you're an investor, you've been following the company for a while now, this is not something that you're not, oh my God, the company's in risk of failing. You're not thinking about any of that kind of stuff because you understand what it is now, right? So in understanding what it is, by them taking it by, pretty much grabbing the ram by the horns, right? And by the bull by the horns, as you say, they're essentially saying we're going to produce our own batteries. Yes, it might take us, a little bit, it might take us a while to get it ramped up, but we're going to get there. And when we do get there, we'll be ahead of the rest of the industry. Nobody else is producing their own batteries in-house. Nobody else has the breadth of experience that Tesla has in producing electric vehicles. So it's not something to worry about. It's actually something to be excited for. Because once this drops, just like what happened with the Model 3, once this drops, okay, now we go to another level. Because now when Tesla's able to produce these batteries, now okay, so let me take this back one quick second here. Is with the Model 3, they had a ramping problem, right? It took them a while to get to full scale production. With the Model Y, they were ahead of schedule, right? And this is important with the Model Y because it shared so much of it shared so many parts with the Model 3. The ramp, they were ahead of schedule by 3 to 6 months, something crazy like that, right? Then they took the Model Y and they put that out in China. And then they took that Model Y and they put it out in Berlin. And now they're putting that Model Y here in Texas, right? So I say that to say their battery manufacturing, the 4680 cell, they're having trouble with it. But they're ramping it here first in Austin, in Texas. Then they're going to put that out in Berlin. You think that once they figured it out here in Austin, figured full-scale production, that when they put it in Berlin, they're going to have nearly as much trouble? Not a chance. And then when they ultimately decide that, hey, we want to expand, do you think that once the expansion occurs that it's going to take them this amount of time to get it ramped up? Of course not. So putting those two things together, it's like this is something to certainly be excited about. This is not something to be fretting over. You shouldn't go to have trouble sleeping at night. Yeah, so that's their limiting factor is their batteries. Now, how does the vertical integration solve problems? We kind of talked about that. It removes the supply chain, right? You now don't have to worry about all that comes with having external supply partners and all that nonsense. So that's how the vertical integration solves the problems. Now, how is Tesla creating a flywheel? Well, we already talked about two of the things, right? So we talked about full self-driving and we talked about vertical integration. Now, what gets interesting here is when you have that full self-driving solved, you can now take that and you can put it into any form factor of a robot. These cars themselves are robots, right? Four-wheeled robots. Now put that into a humanoid robot. Put that into your manufacturing robots. Now you say, okay, they can essentially the factory can run itself. You no longer need there to be a human in person, like a human to be actually there, IRL, in real life. It can be these robots. Yes, you can have some humans that are, working behind the scenes, but in terms of on the factory floor, at some point or another, I'm not saying this is going to happen tomorrow. This is not going to happen. This is going to take 5-10 years maybe, but you say, okay, we don't need humans on the floor anymore. It's actually too dangerous to have humans on the floor. It's better to just have all these robots running the shit. Okay, well, the cars themselves, as a car manufacturer, right? Tesla sells cars, right? Well, what is the purpose of selling a car? So that you can make money off of it, right? But if the car can drive itself, why do you need to sell it? Okay, stick with me. Now, if I can produce a car that can drive itself, and I can produce that car without having to pay for any human labor to do it, that makes the cost of manufacturing that car even cheaper. And if I produce everything in-house and I mine the minerals that go into the batteries, battery production becomes even cheaper. So now the cost of the vehicle becomes so cheap that it doesn't make sense to not manufacture and build cars. It doesn't make any sense because now you can just put the chip in and these cars are just like, they're just like more people essentially, right? It's essentially more people. You don't have to worry about like there's a demand a supply problem in terms of labor for taxi cabs, right? There's not enough taxi drivers because if there were enough taxi drivers, you wouldn't never have to wait. You'd be able to walk out and just get into a car and that's it and go. Well, that there's a demand shortage. So now a supply shortage. Now you remove the supply shortage because you have all these cars that are literally just there. And you just get into any car and it just takes you to your destination. Like it will become so cheap to move around. The cost, now we're not talking about what's the cost of the vehicle itself. It's what's the cost per mile. And this is something that ARK Invest, shout out to ARK Invest, Kathy Wood and all of them. This is something that they talk about a lot is like when autonomy comes, what's the cost per mile, right? What is the, if you go today, if you drove your car, let's say it costs you, 20 cents a mile. And that's accounting for gas. That's accounting for your oil change, your tire wear over time, all that kind of stuff. Let's say it's 50 cents, 30 cents, 20 cents, whatever, 30 cents a mile, right? Let's say it's 30 cents a mile. Well, the cost of if you don't have to, that also, because you have to, not only your gas and your oil and all stuff, but also the car note, your insurance, right? All this different type of stuff, car washes, anything that you can, any cost, it all adds up. And there's a cost per mile. How many miles do you drive that car versus, and how much did you pay for that? A lot of people, average, regular day, everyday people who, commute to work and everything, they only spend a short amount of time in their car. Let's say on the high end, it's 3 hours a day in your car, right? Well, if you're only spending 3 hours a day in your car, that means there's 21 other hours that car is just sitting there that you're paying for. So what's the point of owning the car, right? If you're an everyday person, you're like, I don't even want to own the car. I mean, yeah, it's nice to have the freedom to be able to come and go as I please, but I mean, it's if that car note, the car note and everything that comes with it, the insurance, the gas, everything to own and operate that car comes out to 40% of your monthly income. Is that something that you actually want? Like, if you could remove 40% and save 40% of your monthly income, wouldn't you want to do that? I would think so, right? And especially if the ability to get a car was as simple as just walking outside, like requesting one on your phone, walk outside, or making sure that your calendar is up to date. So then that way, as soon as you're ready to leave, there's already a car outside ready waiting for you. Like that's what can happen with these autonomous cars. So I say all that to say is like for the average everyday person who, they're struggling to get by and a car note is taking up almost 50% of their monthly income. Do you really want to own a car? Probably not. People that are not, it's not taking up 40% of their income. Maybe it's taking up 5%. Maybe it's taking up 1%. Sure. They may be willing to take on the cost of burden for owning a car. And that's fine and dandy. You should still have the freedom to be able to buy a car. But for everybody else, what's the point of buying the car? Okay, cool. So we determined there's no point in buying the car. So, and sorry, there's this other part of it where the argument might become, well, what if I want to, own the car and then I can just rent it out, like, Tesla network, right? They say owners can put their car in the Tesla network and yada, yada, yada. Okay. But then that means that it's your car. You still have to take on the burden of maintaining it, cleaning it, all this different type of stuff. What's the purpose of having the car? If you're going to put it on the Tesla network and you're not going to just have it sitting in your garage when you're not using it, it's being used. That means there are miles being put on it when you're not using it. So the length of time that the vehicle will last will not be 15 years. It'll be like 5 years, right? So it's like there would be no reason for you as a regular person to want to own a car. You know what I'm saying? The cost to own the car is like there's a burden to that. And so I don't think there's going to be many people that really want to do that or even will be able to afford to do that necessarily, right? If you want to try to get ahead. Okay, so with all that being said, I think this is something where Tesla now can say, hey, we have a factory that can produce cars 24/7 without human oversight, cars that can drive themselves, that can, you have create a charger that can plug itself into the car so the cars can charge themselves and be driving around. They can schedule service appointments for themselves whenever their tires start wearing out. You know what I mean? Like this is the rabbit hole of possibilities. And this is not even to mention Optimus, right? What is Optimus? Optimus is the humanoid robot. What is that important? What effect can Optimus play in the economy? Like outside of transportation, like just you can purchase let's say you purchase a humanoid robot for your own home and it does the cleaning all around the house. But like we think that, oh, okay, well, my house is not really dirty. It's like, okay, well, it can go and get your groceries for you. Oh, well, I have my groceries delivered. Okay, but you don't have to, like, it can mow your lawn. Oh, well, I just have somebody pay for, okay, but all that cost is wrapped up into the cost of the robot. So it's like, you can just have all this stuff be maintained in a robot that is like taking care and maintaining your shit. Like, I don't know. I think, and that's just at the home, right? Now it goes even deeper when you say, okay, well, what about when they want to start mining batteries and shit? Like at scale, Tesla does. Now they can just create a bunch of these humanoid robots that can go and mine it, and you don't have to put human lives in danger, right? Or window washing at the top of skyscrapers. Now you can put humanoid robots. You don't have to put humans there where you have to pay. You have to take on the liability insurance, all this kind of stuff. Now you can just pay for a robot, right? Like this is the rabbit hole that we go down as enthusiasts and investors, and we're just like, yo, this is why the company is gonna be such a fucking gold mine soon, right? And not even soon, it already is, but it's like when all this stuff starts to come out and starts to become reality, that's when I think we're gonna start to people are gonna be like, yo, what the hell is happening? Why are we just seeing like robots everywhere? This is like iRobot. It's like, bro, we've been talking about it for a while now. It's the technology's been developing over time. Some people are just not seeing it, right? Last point is here, and then I'm going to wrap up. Is Tesla Elon is going to be putting out Master Plan Part 3 soon, and I think that the Master Plan Part 2, for those of you who haven't checked it out, I have a video. I'll link it here up in the corner or down in the description. But in Master Plan Part 2 specifically, he mentions that, that's when they go on to acquire Solar City, right? And then Tesla now has an in-house solar team producing solar panels and home battery packs, right? Well, I think that set the precedent. For what may come in Part 3. And in Part 3, I believe that it'll be somewhere along the lines of Tesla announcing that they're looking to purchase the Boring Company. Right. And here's why I think this, because with Tesla wanting to get into mining batteries, what better way than to use the knowledge that you have from your boring company to extract and move Earth, right? Because simultaneously, you could also be digging tunnels, right? And you could be digging these tunnels, you could be working on your technology to dig these tunnels where your autonomous vehicles can be operating, right? And you're going to have your autonomous semi-trucks that can be traveling through these tubes that can be literally taking you, like, okay, this is gonna go down the rabbit hole. And thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys have been around this long, if you've watched up to this point, go ahead, subscribe to the channel, like the video, because it's about to get interesting. So they have these boring machines that go underground. You don't have to dig from the top. You go underground and you go to where there's, lithium or cobalt or whatever minerals that you need to build batteries or whatever. And you just have the boring machine go straight to it underground, right? Now you've dug a tunnel where you can now release your little robots to go and like gather up the shit, put it on the autonomous semi, which will ship it back to the Tesla facility, like the manufacturing plant, right? The factory. It'll go underground, do this, just bring them the materials back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They'll never run out of materials for batteries. They never have to worry about, endangering the top level of the environment, right? Because everything is going underground. So you can just go straight from your factory to underground, even if it's across hundreds of miles, right? Because these semis are now traveling in tubes, which means that they're going to be getting max efficiency, meaning because there's no wind resistance, anything like that, right? So they're now able to go from point A to point B, completely autonomous, nobody else in the tunnels in terms of like people on the road or other cars and stuff. So there's no traffic. You're just back and forth all day, back and forth, back and forth. And because Tesla has a manufacturing, they have like the best manufacturing in the world right now. Because they have that, they can produce these boring machines at the same time that they're producing their humanoid robots, at the same time that they're producing their semis that are bringing everything back and forth. And then at the same time, you're going to then perfect your boring technology, and then you're going to introduce that to the public. So then that way you'll create tubes to take travel underground, right? There will no more be surface level travel, or majority of the travel that was on the surface will go underground, right? And this is where I think we really, 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 really gotta like start to pay attention, because Tesla has literally, Elon too, I mean, I guess, they're touching so much right now. And I think that there's a lot of money to be made. I think there's really a lot of money to be made. And I think if in this master plan part 3, according to what I'm talking about, and I can see it happening. That's the thing. I can see it happening. If they were to announce that they're buying the Boring Company, game over. Fucking game over, dude. Game over. And if the Boring Company doesn't purchase it out, then I think that maybe when SpaceX goes public, I could definitely see SpaceX purchasing the Boring Company to be able to throw that on a rocket and launch it to Mars, and then dig some tunnels up in Mars and get humans out there. Yeah, I don't know. So, all right, that's all I got for you guys. Hope you guys were able to stick around. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to like the video, share it, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell to be notified of all the latest content as soon as it drops. A lot of interesting stuff here. I would really like to hear from you guys. Be sure to leave a comment down below. What do you guys think? Do you think that any of this stuff is outside of the box? Do you see it being science fiction that's about to become reality? I'm curious to know. So let me know. Again, thanks for tuning in to the Willie G Show. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.